continuing where I left off. No, no. Invite me to no warfare such as this. Troy fallen, I have had no quarrel with Trojans, no delight in calling up evil days. The gifts you bring me from your country, take instead to Aeneas. I have stood my ground against his whetted spear, fought him with swords, trust one who knows the surging mass of him. Behind his shield, the whirlwind of his cast. Had Ida's land borne 2 more men like him, Troy would have marched upon the towers of Argos. Greece would be mourning a contrary fate. As to our stalemate before stubborn Troy, the sword arm of Aeneas, with Hector's halted dominance of the Greeks for 10 long years, both known for courage, both for skill in arms. Aeneas first, in reverence for the gods, your right hand and your forces should be joined, and well may be. Take care they do not clash in combat. Now your majesty has heard both Diomed's responses and his views of our great war. Barely had the legates finished their story when a hubbub rose, and turbulence among the listening faces, and when rock beds that stemmed a rushing stream made the royal current roar, and banks re-echoed. Foam lashed with the waves, but soon the consul's mood grew calm, excited tongues were still, and calling on the gods from his high throne, the king spoke out. Much earlier than this, I should have wished, and wiser would have been, to meet and take decisions in this crisis, not with the enemy at our walls as now. My countrymen, we make ill-omened war with men of heavenly birth, unconquerable, untired by battle, and even in defeat, unable to put up the sword. What hope you had of brothers in arms, Aetolians, you must dismiss. Each man may have his hope, but this how narrow? Now you see. Then too, all that we had, now visited with ruin, lies before your eyes and in your hands. But I accuse no one. What bravery could do was done. The whole strength of our kingdom fought the battle. It is over. Now let me disclose the plan formed in my mind still tentatively. Give me your attention. I shall be brief. There is an old domain of mine along the Tuscan stream, extending forward toward sundown, well beyond Sicanian boundaries, Arunicans and Rutilians. Sow crops there, plough the stony hills, or graze the wildest of them. Let this region all be ceded now in friendship to the Trojans, with a pine-forested zone of mountain heights. Let us make equitable treaty terms, and in the realm call them co-citizens. Here let them settle, and here build their walls, if such desire is in them. If their hearts are set on other lands and other races, and they are able to leave our soil, why then, twice 10 good ships of stout Italian oak will build them. If they muster crews for more, the timbers lie at the sea's edge. They may prescribe the number and rig, and we shall give the bronze, the labor, and the launching ways. It will content me further that 100 emissaries chosen from our best shall bring our terms and sign the pact and offer. Olive bows of peace, carrying gifts, gold bars and ivory, and throne and robe, insignia of our kingship, all take consul, here and now, shore up our tire strength. Then Drances rose, belligerent as before. The fame of Turnus galled him, made him smart with envy unconfessed. This wealthy man, a lavish spender and an orator, but a cold hand in battle, held to be no empty consular, a strong party man. His mother's nobility made him arrogant, though he had no certain father. Now he spoke to add to and to aggravate their anger. Excellency, it is all clear as day, the situation you address. No need for us to enlarge on it. All here concede. They know what these events mean for our people, yet they keep silent. Let the man we know allow us liberty to speak, and let him hold his bluster. his unlucky star, his baleful influence, and I shall say it, threaten as he may to run me through. His whim put out so many shining lights among our captains that we see our city founder in grief, while at the Trojan camp his skirmishers being sure to get away, frightening the air with javelins. One more gift, your gracious majesty. Include with all you have us send or offer to the Trojans. One gift more, and let no violence from any man prevail on you to yield a father's right. Betrothal of your daughter, fittingly to an exceptional son, by that external bond to accomplish peace. But if our minds and hearts are so oppressed by terror, let us plead with Turnus here, himself to do this kindness to us all, resign his marital status to king and country. Why must you, sir, send into open peril time and again your suffering countrymen? You, chief of woes to Latium, cause of all? In war there is no salvation. We require peace of you, Turnus, and along with it the one pledge that makes peace inviolable. Look, I, whom you pretend to be your rival, I will not linger on that. I, first of all, come to beg you. Pity your own people. Cool your hothead, being beaten. Leave the field. In our defeat, we have seen enough death, and made a landscape desolate. If glory is on your mind still, iron self-conceit, or a royal house for dowry charms you sow, then take the risk and brave the enemy. Must I suppose that for the sake of Turnus, royal marriage, we poor common souls should strew the field, unburied and unwept? Come, sir, if any fighting blood is in you, any native legacy from Mars, go face the man who calls you out to combat. Under this taunting, Turnus' fiery temper flare up, but he gave a groan of scorn, then broke out into his deep voice. Plenty of talk you always have when contests call for action. Summon a senate, you are the first one there. No need to fill this hall with words, big words you can let fly in safety, keeping walls between you and the enemy, no moats, as yet running with blood. Hammer away with all your rhetoric. Say, I'm afraid, when your own sword has left the dead in heaps, the field brilliant with trophies everywhere. What bravery in action can achieve, you are still free to experience. No need to hunt for enemies. They ring the walls. Go out to meet them, shall we? Why hang back? With all your skill for battle, rest forever. In wing-bag's breath, and in those flying feet, beaten am I. Can anyone have cause to utter that word, beaten, you foul wretch? Seeing the Tiber rising with Ilian blood, and all Evander's house, his line, brought low. Arcanians killed and stripped, I should not say I seen a beaten man to Bitias and Pandurus, that giant, or the throngs I sent to hell on one victorious day. Shut between walls at that, with enemy earthworks to right and left of me. In war there's no salvation. Sing that to your Trojan chief and your prospects. You mad fool, go on confusing everything with fear. Exult a race twice conquered and their strength. Cry down Latinus' power. Nowadays the Myrmidons tremble at Phrygian spears. Diomedes and Achilles tremble. Yes, and Aphatus torrent flows uphill in flight from the Adriatic. Take him now, pretending to be frightened when I blast him. The artful devil, just to add that touch, intimidation, to his case against me. You'll never lose that life, such as it is, to this right hand. Don't worry. Let it stay, long resident in that tame breast of yours. Now, father, I revert to you, to your large-scale proposal. If you put no further hope in our fighting power, if we are left so unsupported, if our army corps by one reversal has gone all to pieces, our fortune had reached the point of no return, then let us beg for peace with beggars' hands. Yet, oh, Had we a spark of our old spirit, the luckiest of men in this hard time, the finest man, to my mind, would be he who bit the dust once and for all, and died to avoid a sight like this. But if in fact we have resources, fresh reserves of men, Italian states and peoples with us still, and if the Trojans won a great cost in blood, they have their burials as well. The storm struck all alike. Why then give up like cowards on the threshold? Why allow our knees to shake before trumpet blows? Days passing and the changing work of time have often righted things. Fortune returns to put on solid ground those she derided. Say the Antonian will not help, nor Arpe, Messipus will. So will that lucky seer, Ptolemaeus. So will chiefs whom many nations sent to us, and no small fame will come. To the picket man of Latium and Laurentum, yes, and Camilla of the noble Volsci, leader her cavalry, splendid in bronze. But if the Trojans call on me alone for combat, and if you approve, and I am blocking something for the good of all, then victory has not so bitterly hated these hands, and so eluded them, that I should not in such a hopeful cause make my attempt. And cheerfully I'll go against him, though he overshadowed Achilles, and wear gear made like his by Vulcan's hands. This life of mine, I, Turnus, not outdone, and valored by the men of old, have sworn in service to my father-in-law and you. Aeneas calls on him alone. Call on, I pray, if this brings anger of the gods, may Drances not appease it with his death, nor if it brings honor and feats of arms, may he bear off the palm for these. The two debated the obscure future in this way, in bitter strife. Meanwhile, Aeneas left camp and took the field. Now see a messenger hastening through the palace with hue and cry to alarm the town. He brought word that the Trojan battle line and the Tuscan complement had left the Tiber to move down the plain. Their minds in tumult, shaken by their news, the common people felt their anger roused as by goad. With oaths their hands went out for arms, and then the young men yelled, "To arms!" even as their despondent fathers wept. Everywhere now clamor and discord arose into the air above town, as when bird flocks come down in a tall grove, or swans, when the Patusian channel teems with fish, give their hoarse-throated cries on echoing pools. But Turnus caught the moment and made it his. He said, "Just so, my townsmen, hold your counsel, sit and praise the name of peace." And they, "Their army sweeps to attack our capital." That was all. He leapt up and away, quitting the council hall with rapid stride, then gave commands. "Volusus, it's for you to make the Volscian squadron arms. You lead the Rutilians. Messapus, arms your horsemen. Chorus, you and your twin brother, see our cavalry deploy across the plain. 1-foot battalion reinforce the approaches to the city and man the towers. All the rest prepare with me for action, and where I order." Running crowds made for the city walls, and King Latinus prayed to the dark hour, left the council chamber and postponed all he had set afoot. Bitterly now, he blamed himself for having failed to welcome Aeneas the Dardanian to his realm as son-in-law. Before the city gates, deep pits were dug, big stones and pikes brought up. A vibrant trumpet sang bloodshed and war. In long uneven lines, mothers and boys appeared atop the ring of walls. The final efforts drew them all. The queen as well rode in a carriage with a company of mothers to the shrine of Pallas. High above the town with gifts, and close beside her, the young princess Lavina rode, the cause of so much suffering, lovely eyes downcast. The women entering beclouded all, that shrine with smoke of incense, and sad voices rose from the portal in a tide of prayer. O power over battle, our protectress, Virgin Tritonia, shattered in thy hand the spear shaft of the Phrygian corsair. Throw him headlong to earth, let him die dead. below our high gates. Turnus, furiously on edge for battle, pulled his armor on, first his cuirass glowing red with scales a-quiver, then he encased his legs in gold, his head still bare, then belted on his sword and ran down from the citadel, his figure glittering golden, while his heart beat high, at grips with foemen even now in thought, as a stallion breaks his tether and goes free, at last out of the stall and down the meadow, gaining the open land. There he may turn to a grazing herd of mares, or canter on to a stream he knows well for a cooling plunge, nay and frisking, tossing back his head, his mane at play over his neck and shoulders. Square in his path, his Volscian squads behind her, Camellia came, hard-riding warrior queen. Before the gates she leapt down from her mount, and her whole troop taking the cue, dismounted at the same instant, slipping to the earth. She spoke then, saying, Turnus, as confident goes hand in hand with bravery that earned it, now I dare and undertake to meet Aeneas' horsemen, charging the Tuscan cavalry alone. Let me first risk the combat at close quarters. You with your infantry stand by the walls meanwhile and guard the city. His eyes intent upon the awesome virgin, Turnus answered, Virgin glory of Italy, how tell my gratitude, or how repay my debt? Courageous spirit, towering above all here, now share the toil with me. Rumored, confirmed by scouts I send, informs me that the dog Aeneas dispatched his light armed horse ahead to scour the plain, while on the mountain track through the wild land, crossing the ridge, he makes his own descent upon the town. I'll set an ambush where the path is arched by forests, soldiers to close both ends of the defile. You take the field, engage the Tuscan horse. Messapus and the Latin cavalry will be there with you, and Tiburtus' troop. Plan your battle as my co-commander. With corresponding orders, he dispatched Messapus with his Latins to that fight, while he himself marched on his enemy. The mountain road curves in a pass designed by nature for entrapment and surprise, heavily wooded, dark on either hand. The road thins out here, and the narrowing gorge begrudges a way through. But on high ground amid the lookout post along the crest, there's a concealed plateau, a safe retreat, whether you plan a rush from right or left, or stand fast on the ridge and roll down boulders. Here by familiar shortcuts, Turnus came, preempted the high ground, and laid in wait in woods made dangerous. In heaven, meanwhile, Diana spoke to Opis, the fleet huntress, one of the vying virgins in her train, her lips open in sadness, and she said, Sister, now Camellia, goes her way to the cruel war, equipped with bow and quiver, weapons of ours, but all in vain. Cherish her as I may beyond the rest. No new love, this, come just now to Diana, moving my heart with pleasure. Years ago, when haters of this insolent power drove him out of Prevernum, ancient realm and town, Medibus took his long infant child in flight amid the struggles of that war to share his exile. By her mother's name, Casmilla changed a bit. He called the child Camilla. Now he carried her before him, close to his breast, and toiled for refuge on long ridges in the wilderness, though spears of grim pursuit were everywhere behind, and Volscian patrols cast a wide net. Lo and behold, square in his path, in flood, the torrent Amascinus, foaming high, ran over banks and brim, filled by so wild a cloudburst. As the man prepared to swim it, love for his infant stayed him, and he feared for his dear burden. Weighing all the choices possible, he settled suddenly. And desperately on this, in his tough hand, he chanced to carry a battle spear of oak, knotted and seasoned. Now to this he tied his child encased in the cork tree bark, and bound her trimly in the middle of the shaft. He balanced it in his big hand, and prayed to the air of heaven, Dorta of Latona, Diana, kindly virgin of the groves, I, her father, swear this child shall be thy servant. The first weapon she embraces, thine, as by the mercy through the air she escapes the enemy. I beg thee, goddess, take her as thy own, this girl committed now to the veering wind. Then he drew back, his arm and let the sponge shaft fly. The waters din below, and over the rushing stream small and forlorn Camilla soared across upon the whistling spear shaft. Well aware of troops in force approaching from behind, Medibus took the river. Spear and child in triumph, he recovered from the turf, his offering to the Virgin of the Crossroads. Now not a city gave him sanctuary, public or private, nor would he himself, because of his fierce nature, yield to any. So he lived out his life upon the shepherd's lonely mountains. Here in undergrowth, amid rough haunts of beasts, he nursed his daughter, putting her to the breast of a wild mare, whose tits he milked into her tender mouth. When the small child took her first steps, he armed her hands with a sharp javelin, and hung a bow and quiver from her infant shoulder. No gold headband, no flowing outer garment covered her, but her tiger skin hung down her back from head to foot, and as a child she flung play darts with her soft hands and whirled a sling stone on a strap around her head to fail a crane of Sturmon or a swan. Then many mothers in the Tuscan town desired her in vain to be their daughter. All her contentment being with Diana, the girl remained untouched and ever cherished it, passion for arms and for virginity. I wish that she had not been swept away in this campaign, or tried to challenge Trojans. She would still be, my dear, one of my sisters. Come, though, granted harsh face is at hand. Go gliding out of heaven, and visit Latin lands where, with unlucky omen, battle is begun. Here are my weapons. Take one vengeful shaft of that quiver. By this let any Trojan or Italian, one or the other, who may violate her sacred body with a wound, pay back in blood an equal penalty to me. Then I shall carry, pillow in a cloud, the body of the pitiable one, her war gear intact, to her final rest in her own land and tomb. When she had finished, Opis dropped from heaven through light airs with a rushing sound, wrapped in a dark whirlwind. And I'm going to leave it off there. Thank you for watching this entire series of the Aeneid by Virgil. You can give it a thumbs up if you like, a thumbs down. You can leave comments, you can subscribe, or just keep viewing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.